All right, so we're back, and this is basically we're trying to finish up the ranking all the in-game leaders in CS:GO. And last time we had to cut it short a bit because Wallaby had had an emergency, had to go save a friend, save a dog, whatever it was.
I had a dog sit,
Okay,
which I wish really involved me just sitting on the annoying ass dog, but it was more like I had to take care of it and feed it and stuff.
right. So basically, we're just gonna start off where like we started speeding up, which was I'll go over the list again. Number one was Glaive. Number two was Kerrigan. We had a dispute over number three and four, but basically Fallen and got B. And then
I had Gabi
and I
then
had Fallen.
Yeah.
And then number five, I think we both had Zeus. Is that right?
Yep.
And then number six is I think where we both trail off. But basically, I want to get your take on this. Like when we were doing this ranking, were you considering old in-game leaders too, or just like the active ones?
Not really. It's more like I didn't really have it clear in my head, but basically what I said is like not a historical piece. So like if I was doing like top 10 in-game leaders of all time in CS:GO, it'd be like, oh, maybe you had to throw Pronax in there, or you had to throw maybe even Exist simply because of his longevity. Okay, I don't know if you rate Exist or not, what your personal opinion is, but it's more like yeah, it's like
The people
who's
that
the
are
best right now, but you're basing it off of 2 or 3 years of data.
yeah.
So
I mean, you have to
like,
do that with in-game leaders because it's such
right,
an intangible role,
hmm
right?
right. So you can't like, okay, yeah, maybe in the last 6 months or last year, Fallen hasn't been as good as whoever you want to say, Daps, in terms of the team's raw results. But I think if you go back a few years and consider all the circumstances, I think that you would have to rate Fallen above Daps.
Okay, because I wanted to make sure because like if we're going like number six at this point is like I have like there are pretty good cases for both Pronax and Existence above like the guys you put up like Daps and MSL at that point. But obviously, if we're not gonna work on that angle, I guess we'll skip that. We'll just leave it to the end with like the other stuff because I also
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you about like the new in-game leaders like Nitro and Alexi B and stuff like that too because I feel like that's like a different topic just about rating in-game leaders in general. So all right, we'll go with active in-game leaders at this point just to make it clear because I think it just makes more sense, make it more consistent
Yeah.
that way. So at this point, I think at this juncture it has to be Daps or MSL for number six, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm looking through the rest of the leaders and I don't really see a case for anybody else at this point. Like, do you see any other cases? Like I'm thinking about it. It's like Exist can't be in it. Lecro obviously not.
I don't. I haven't.
Nico
NIP
no.
isn't one of the teams I really watch that much. Like the Swedish teams, Fnatic and NIP. And Fnatic, I was watching like at V4 and stuff at the beginning of 2018 when they're actually a pretty good team.
Yeah, when
But
Golden was still the leader.
yeah, I think like outside like the main teams, which I would say are like Astralis, FaZe, Navi, MIBR. Like the teams I like to watch outside of those are probably like I really do like watching NRG. I keep an eye on North even though they're pretty shit.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched a bit of Ghost. I've watched a bit of Complexity. So some of the NA teams simply, and some of that was just because I actually physically wanted to travel to an event. I went to Atlanta, DreamHack Open Atlanta, and I just did a little research before I left. Oh, of course I watched ENCE for the major. I did a podcast on ENCE, so I'm sort of familiar with those teams, but I'm not super comfortable with NIP, and I'm not. When I do watch them, I'm not always impressed. It's always a very mixed bag. I mean, I think Max said on my last episode of my podcast, he's like, no even point of watching IP because like you watch one game, they look very good, or they look like they're playing in one way, and you watch another random game from a different tournament, it's a completely different team. So it's almost.
Yeah,
I thought that they would do well at this major, and how they finished? They finished top 8.
they finished top 8, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't actually like. It depends what you mean by well. Like I think they did well if you actually think they're shit, which I think they are.
Yeah. I mean, prior to
But if you
I
think they're
think
good,
that
they actually did shit.
I think, I mean, I think they're a top 10 team or maybe a top 12 team if you're being negative, but I think they're there. It's just not one of the teams in the top 12 I like to watch. Like,
Like
I think
I feel
that
like they're basically gonna get kicked out very soon. Like
it's just like the roster instability is sort of like a down part. And then it's just
like they're
yeah,
bringing back Draken, and Draken never worked in this lineup. Like, what are you guys thinking? But it's definitely better than Dennis. I'll give them that.
yeah, I think that the Draken thing is weird. I think that at times he's actually been a pretty decent player. I think
Well,
that
he's like Smooya on big, except like it's exponentially worse. Like he doesn't fit this team. Like he just doesn't fit this team at all. Like I can see Smooya fitting into big mostly, but Draken doesn't fit NIP, and I don't think he ever will.
yeah, I don't know. I think that it's yeah, as I was saying, I really haven't done my fair research into NIP, but I do think they're interesting. Like I wasn't surprised that they made top 8. I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking like when I was watching some of their games at the first stage of the major, I was like, oh, they actually look pretty decent. Or maybe I was watching some of their games at the minor. I can't remember exactly. It
Mm-hmm.
was like my pre-major episode of the podcast. I was watching them. I just it's hard to tell with Lecro and all that. It just seems like those games that Forrest just goes off and he has like a really sick game and they look like
Like
a pretty efficient team. I don't really have a good grasp of them.
like I'll give you my take, I guess, real quick. Obviously, we're going on a tangent, but I don't really care that much.
Yeah, that's fine.
Basically, Forrest is the only player that actually works in the system, and the only reason he works is because he's given like everything he wants. Like he's literally given everything he wants, right? Like he gets every position or every role that I think naturally suits Forrest and has suited Forrest for a long period of time. But because of that, like if you if you actually legitimately just look at Forrest and when he pops off and when he doesn't, it's almost always the same pattern. Basically, he'll always beat teams that are weaker, generally teams and players that are weaker than him. He will almost always lose to teams and players that are better than him. And he will have a pop off game 1 out of every 3 or 4 times against a better team. And that's it. And that's their win condition. Because Get Right's basically been slowly being sacrificed over and over again. Like basically his role has been changing over time. Dennis has never worked in this system, never will work in this system. We've tried it multiple times. For whatever reason. Lecro was good initially, but as he's taken on in-game leadership roles, he's become more and more inconsistent as time has gone on. Rez is actually very good for his role, but he's like more similar to Valde than he is to like a config on Old North, where he's like his roles make it so that he can't be as impactful as like a true superstar player, right? And then if you're talking about Lecro as an in-game leader, basically it's like a workable system, but it's not very good. Like he already gave away the secret of what he basically does. Is basically he has two modes of thought. We go default. If that doesn't work, we do an execute,
Yeah.
and then you just reverse it. Like those are there's only two like modes of action. Like he doesn't have the ability to like what we talked about Zeus. Like he doesn't have the ability to kind of like read the momentum of the game, read the conditioning of the players, and then call like the not like the ultimate tactic, but like the best play at that point, whether that's just a rush or something. Like he doesn't have that in him, and I don't think he's developed that, but he's also new. So
Yeah, we also talked about like roster building, and I think it's sort of a shame with the Swedish scene for the last couple of years because it's like they have guys, like they have guys who
do
are
things.
still good, or like I mean, Krims obviously was a very good player. I mean, in 2018 at points.
I still think he is like the best Swedish player.
Yeah, I mean, I think that better than Olafmeister. I mean, yeah, I guess
better than
Olafmeister.
I'll take him over Olafmeister. You saw how bad Olafmeister was at the major, man. It's like
I mean, but he's like in off roles, and he's still like pretty decent.
the problem with that is like he wasn't off rolls the entire time, but like it's only up till the majors like it went really bad. I think.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when he first came back from his
Injury.
injury or what, I mean, I don't know what the deal with that was. I don't know why he was out. I mean, if it's private, it's private. I'm not gonna worry about it. But
the hiatus. Okay, not the
Yeah,
injury,
yeah.
the hiatus.
yeah, he was yeah, whatever, for other reason he had a really serious life the first couple tournaments, but I thought he was pretty decent, like a pretty good player. Like I actually think Olafmeister is like his transformation to the roles he plays in FaZe is like low-key underrated. And I wrote an article about this, but I think it's sort of like giving it a false impression of the rest of the scene that like everyone can just do an Olaf Meister and adjust. I think Olaf Meister is not a great adjustment, but I think he's done it well enough. He's like a solid player. I think Kiyoshima
was a better adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah, like Kiyoshima might be a better player in those roles, even though he's not a better player overall.
Meister, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that like if we're talking about Lekro, I wouldn't favor him putting in a top 10 list of current in-game leaders, or at least top 8. I would have to watch him more, simply based on like, yeah, eye test and then like roster building. I mean, where's his MSL moment where he like, even for a couple tournaments, gets the right guys together and like, you know, like, crushes. I mean,
like Threat has that moment, but not Lekro.
Right. So I think like, I mean, they've tried so many different iterations in the Swedish scene, and just nothing clicked, and that's sort of been a bad. I mean, I guess Fnatic clicked briefly, but I mean,
I think Fnatic's already on the way out, man. Like,
yeah. It's I don't think highly of Lekro as an in-game leader. I don't think that he's really shown anything that would say top 8 to me.
Like, I think he's done a good job considering he isn't supposed to be in-game leader. Like,
yeah, I mean that's fine. It's like,
but like he wouldn't make my list of the active in-game leaders.
Yeah. No, but would you think DAPS over MSL? Because I think some people might. I mean, people say I'm an MSL fanboy or whatever, but I think it's actually really close between DAPS and MSL, and there's a lot of similars.
Their strengths are very, very similar.
And I just like thematically, they're very similar, or in terms of their narrative, they're very similar. Sort of guys who are like stuck with subpar players, or like will have the best players taken from them because they're not on the very best team in their respective region. They're sort of undervalued individual as in-game leaders because their individual talents, have struggled for periods of their career trying to get on the right teams, and then have slowly gotten it back together. I think they're very similar in that, and sort of like the narrative of them. I just think that DAPS' success over the last years, I think, demonstrated. And I think he's just not as. I mean, as much as cool as I think it is sometimes, where like MSL's delusions pay off for him, like DAPS just is like a lot more reasonable and just like I think more consistent in that sense. Like that's it just works out more often.
Here's how I break it down, right? Because all right, so if I look at it tactically, I actually think MSL has a slight edge over DAPS. Like I know DAPS has actually increased his like playbook and styles and strategy and all that shit up by a shit ton, right? Like he's evolved a lot over that time. But I think overall MSL still has the edge on him because I think the way he's like constructed a bunch of his like set plays to work into each other, like specifically on Cobblestone where like Shangair stole his playbook and used it against him, right? Like that, I think that's pretty legit. Like I don't think any in-game leader, like tactically speaking, like that's about as good as you can get as an in-game leader, I think. Even if that's just like one map, right? And he's done it on like a few other maps too, but that's like the one I always think of, Cobblestone, Mirage. Those are MSL maps, right? So I think MSL has the slight edge there. But if I look at like scouting, I actually think they're both pretty even, to be honest. Actually, no, I'll give DAPS the lead there because I think MSL has always gotten like, I don't know if you want to call it lucky, but he's always been in the Danish scene. And the Danish scene's always built like this incredible like infrastructure. I don't know if you want to call it infrastructure, but like community of pros and competitive players that naturally like there's a natural ladder to go up there. So MSL's like, oh, I'll just grab the next guy. Oh, I'll just grab the next guy. Oh, Hunden, you got a config? I'll take config too. It's like that's kind of how MSL's done it. Whereas DAPS has been like, okay, well,
he picks out some guy from Bulgaria.
He picks a guy from Bulgaria, gets a guy from Spain. He picks up NAF before anybody even thinks NAF is good. Like, he does all this shit, right? Like, he's actually surprisingly... I think DAPS is probably the best scout in CSGO history. Like, he's right up there for me. Like, there aren't that many other guys I can think of, like, who consistently pick out and find good talent.
Fallen?
Yeah, like, Fallen's pretty up there, too. Like... But
I mean, the whole fiasco with Stu TK and Tarek.
Yeah, that kind of soured me to it a bit. But it's like that was him picking up top talent rather than him picking up like guys he think will grow. So Yeah, but
I mean,
like
the distinction I would make between DApps, MSL, and that stuff is like they're both sort of known as these like builder roster builders is like a big part of their sort of
their identity.
history, their like strength as a like their brand or whatever their
Mm-hmm.
what their legacy is. But I would say the distinction is that like yeah, Daps goes out and goes international and finds these guys and like picks these people out of the crowd, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's really talented, obviously, at doing that. I mean, Cirque. I mean, it seems like a land jitters issue with him right now, and I think
Like
he's
here's the thing with Cirque, it technically worked until but like Cirque isn't
he's not that bad.
he's not
He's
that
like
he's overrated certainly, but like that doesn't mean he's bad.
I mean, I don't think he's a huge problem for them. I think they could upgrade that position. But yeah, but what I was just saying was like the difference between DApps and MSL is like MSL like knows how to. I think not always. I think he made a couple big mistakes like with AZ and Magix, sort of not
Yeah.
figuring that out, and like Pimp and that whole story famously. But I think
I don't know if you want to include Cajun being that.
uh, I just don't think I just don't.
I don't like that one's hard, right? Because he's basically playing a role, and he played it fine. But it's like maybe you could have got more out of Cajun B at that point.
And then you don't know how much that is. Like
Him or Cajun B.
he could have like recruited a better opera, or maybe couldn't. And you don't know how that works behind the scenes.
And then the whole Rubinho thing.
Yeah. That's apparently that was
But that was like
Rubino
Rubinho
leaving
on his own.
Yeah.
So I was like, couldn't do much about that.
But like he like I think that no one has gotten that much out of config. No one's ever gotten that much out of Kirby. Not even Astralis, as Astralis was able to get that much out of Kirby, and no one was able to get as much as he did out of
Config.
Yeah, config. I think that the very specific thing that he does as like the on the T side, where he clears out all the difficult, like in a map control sense, not always on the execute.
Yeah, I know
like,
what you mean. Like he basically like sacrifices himself for like config.
Yeah, like especially like old school North, like when they first changed their name from what were they Dignitas to North. Like I just remember this like it might have been at Epicenter even where like just 3 rounds in a row he's like walking on the long as T and he's like going in first in this one angle and just 3 rounds in a row he dies. MSL gets the trade. I mean, they get all of long or most of long or entry into bathrooms at least from that side, and like a 4v4, which is technically advantage. I think in that situation, you're straight having an advantage on the T side, and I think that yeah, I mean, like who else is good? Who else does that? Who else just like will just like over and over die, get a straight advantage? Like it's just a very specific thing that he does. I think that I think even Config has said this himself. I saw an interview or he was talking on the couch at CS Summit. Yeah. And I think that, he's like, being behind MSL, doing those tandem little plays in the mid round or to open up map control really helped me individually because it just get me the kill, open up the map a little bit more, get me sort of, I think of Config as like an open field running back. Or once he finds that hole, the way he moves through sites or like can move in open spaces is really impressive. But sometimes just like in the raw, it's like first guy and execute sense. I mean, that's just a really hard thing to do. But I don't think that's where he shines. Unlike someone maybe like
like he's got a lot of speed. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of space to him. Whereas like Magus is like the opposite. It's like you put him in a fucking box and he'll do wonders in the box.
Right. I think Kirby is more of a traditional entry player in that sense, where he actually, when he has those rounds where he just like hits all the heads, right, and moving into his site. Where I think Config was good, almost like a Dren. I don't know if you ever like look at a Dren on the T side. Just the way he moves through sites is like surprising, and he'll take.
You mean like Gambit a Dren, right? Like
Gambit a Dren,
the good one.
Yeah, the good one, like 2017 Gambit Adren, where the way he'll like attack a site is unusual, and he'll surprise a lot of guys. And even if he dies, I mean that's sort of the role of the entry guy. But the rounds where he surprises someone and like gets behind them and or like being on an unexpected spot, get 2 kills. I mean that's super useful. That's a round winning thing. I mean I'm thinking of the Cash game versus G2 at the Krakow Major, where
like
he just like took over from Zeus.
That's the most pivotal. Like that's the encapsulation of Adren as the entry player. Even though I've always thought of Adren as more of like a clutch player in my mind, but that's probably because of the CT side, right?
CT side, yeah. I was about to say that.
Right. So yeah, like going back to like the whole like DApps versus MSL thing, like their inherent like strengths and weaknesses are like kind of mirror each other in a sense. I don't know if mirror might be the right word, but like there's a funny dynamic between them.
Because it's a lot of parallels, I think.
Yeah, because Daps is certainly a more reasonable person, but because of that, he isn't crazy enough. Like there isn't like some kind of like weird stubbornness to him, or like he won't like go all in on something necessarily. Whereas like MSL will certainly go all in on something.
I think in terms of his playbook, I think Daps is like very risk oriented now in this current iteration, or like will take these big risks. But like in a larger macro sense, I think you're absolutely right. I think that like, you know, he loses a couple of games on overpass, he gives up on overpass. Like I think that's a big problem with the current NRG is they don't trust their overpass and they're not winning on it as consistently, where that was a pretty consistent map for them. Right. Well, MSL's just picking Mirage into fucking phase at like peak 17 phase.
Pick it into SK when they were the
I'm the best. We're the best team in the world on Mirage. We will pick you. We will pick Mirage. We will beat you on Mirage, and we will win this series. And then he just like loses 2-0 like 5 times in a row.
Like, fuck it, I'll pick Cobblestone and Virtus Pro. They can't stop me. He's like, oh god, not again.
It's just like, I mean, and that sort of just like balls out confidence does, I think, fuck with teams. And I think you saw in the Astralis Stockholm series, they didn't really know what to pick.
Encapsulation of his like strength, but it's like that wasn't gonna happen.
It's also just like straight stupid. I mean, like I think
that was stupidity. Yeah, like I don't. It's hard to not say it. It isn't.
Yeah, I've said this a few times. I put it in an article. I think it's like Great Gatsby. Like Gatsby think he can turn back the past and like win over this girl he hasn't talked to in 10 years is probably just like one of the stupidest things like a human being could think. Like you literally can't. Like he literally says, no, you of course you can turn back the past at one point in the story. Like it's just like straight stupid, but it's also like fairly admirable that he has this like deep yearning and sort of devoted himself to achieve it. And it's just like an honest guy in that respect, or straightforward, like hardworking person, and sort of trying to achieve the impossible, whatever, is like Old Man the Sea, beat back, born against the current, right? Or, you know, just a reckless attempt at overcoming the world, and Ahab, I forget the old man's name in Old Man the Sea, but just like trying to capture the big fish, trying to win in a way that other people aren't doing to overcome this big obstacle is very impressive, if not delusional and suicidal.
Yeah, like basically the whole thing with MSL is he'll have higher highs. DreamHack Stockholm being like the major one, but there's also his epicenter, and then like there's like a bunch of like top fours and a few finals scattered in between his various rosters, right? And as good as Daps has been, like he hasn't really achieved those highs. But at the same time, he hasn't achieved the lows, right?
I mean, NRG didn't play a LAN for this lineup for the first 5 months. Yeah. They were together. This is exact same roster. Well, I guess they now switched with Tarek, but
like the original one with Fugly.
Yeah, the one that achieved all the things. Yeah, like I think there's periods of career where he was pretty out in the wilderness, but I think that was more not of his own making and more like Tarek being a dick and kicking him out of his own team. Like, that's just the weirdest shit. Like, the fact that he picked Tarek over Fugly is just weird to me. Like, dude literally fucking threw you out into the wilderness. Now you're bringing him in. I think it's just...
I don't know if that's necessarily his decision alone. It's like...
Yeah, maybe his whole team fucking betrayed him, and maybe...
Or maybe like
Eric was the one who just put the knife in his back, you know? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to trust Tarek that much in this particular situation. You know what I mean? But we'll see. Like, because it feels like it might be a rerun of the past.
My prediction is that Daps will not be on NRG by the end of this year. that he will get.
That's your prediction. Like I feel like
That's my prediction. That these guys don't fucking value him. Tarek. I mean, I'm just creating this fucking narrative of
I don't know
what's his name, Breezy.
I don't think
Tarek of what he values, but yeah.
I don't think Tarek values him that much. Like, I'm not even sure what exactly Tarek values in a player. To be honest, like,
I mean, like
skills?
Guys like Stu 2K and Automatic and Rush. I think that's his ideal. I don't see him being like, you know who we really need on this team? A Taco or a Fugly or a, I don't know, Sticko, whoever you want to say. These guys who are just like role players. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that.
I mean, I think Breezy and Cirque would probably value Daps. I'm not so certain about Ethan because like Ethan came up with FNS.
Ethan is like the most disrespectful. I mean, I'm just creating a narrative of his personality based on his play, but he just doesn't like. It's not a respectful style of play. Like he'll just like take whatever tool. I mean,
he'll fight anybody. Fair enough.
He just like plays on the edge of the map and like will just take these duels. And I think that if they want to try that style of play with Daps, like it's feasible. I think they're going to be worse if they do try it. But I don't. It doesn't surprise me if they go in that direction with the team. It's just kind of sad because I think that he does bring something, and it's like a pretty good roster. It's just like sucks that they kicked Fugly for Tarek, and I think that they could have made a better pickup there. Like if they made the balls out move, got like Automatic in there, I think it would have been a lot better. Mm-hmm. But that's my Ballywick. That's the thing I've been saying for a long time now with NRG.
All right, keep getting sidetracked, but basically, I'm saying I'm going to go with MSL. I think like a lot of the North problems might just be organizational rather than just MSL purely, just because of how the things have gone since MSL has left, right?
I mean, I think the North organization is like pretty fucking dumb.
Like,
I don't have any faith in them. I have less faith in them than I do MSL. I have less faith in them over like any organization. It's just like I just think it's a clusterfuck over there. I just don't understand.
Downwards, right? Like it's kind of weird. So
like almost every single move. I mean, not every single move, but I think that they made some lateral changes. Like I think Valdi for Magic wasn't that bad. Like I think that was actually
that was a good move at the time. Like nobody remembers.
It's fine. Like it's even. Like that.
But like the problem. It would have been sick if
they could K.
They didn't find the symptom, which was AZ.
Yeah, if they got AZ and kept Magics, like moved Magics into AZ's roles, and then had Valdi into Magic's roles, I think that would have been a very, very good team. I don't know, but is it a personality issue? Is it a leadership issue? Like I think that there's so many. I mean, people want to shit on MSL and like don't give him the same, like they just think he's an idiot or like bad with people or whatever, and they think he's a shit leader. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think it's a lot more complicated. Like Stanislaw had problems with config and Gate or whatever, and he wrote the whole twit law. Cajun. And he wrote the whole twit lawing about it. Everyone was on his side, but people would never do that for MSL. But on some level, I think that
like that's another thing. Like I have in favor of MSL actually was because of that whole Stanislaw episode. Because like there's no way like config and Cajun B where he's like he's normal like well-adjusted people the entire time they were playing under MSL. Like
MSL has these guys for 2 years. Fucking Stanislaw can't handle them for what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, so like
he has to cry all over the internet about it. I mean,
that's why I still have MSL. One of the reasons I have MSL over Daps is because Daps like he needs like the right types of players with the right types of personality to lead them. Like remember when you said earlier like you kind of blame the in-game leader for not getting the players under control. Right?
Yeah.
In this particular case, like MSL's already shown he can lead players with, I won't say problematic, but like harder to control personalities than Daps has.
Or players who are rumored to be more difficult. He is able to keep them. He was able to keep them together for a while, but they all did eventually leave. So that's a hit against MSL, but
not as much against Daps. Like Daps got Derek for like a day, and then everything went to shit.
Yeah.
Right. Like. And then,
I guess his sort of career has been about like getting strong personalities onto his team, and then just like instead of them, I mean, it's almost a credit to MSL, like the way that I'm framing it now. It's like, well, MSL won with the organization and got the like problematic guys got the stars kicked. He got to keep his team. While in Dap's situation, the stars won the power battle and kicked him.
Mm-hmm. Right, like that's and then like even though I think this last year has been amazing for Daps, I gotta like give him a little bit of demerit for like the year before that, where he was basically about to quit and become a coach. Like,
I mean, he did,
and then they all realized, oh fuck, we literally don't know anything about this game. Come back.
Yeah, I mean, I put Dabs above MSL. I think just like the pick and ban phase is just the most egregious shit.
Yeah, that is pretty egregious.
Like that's just the thing that I can't
definitely
get
a better
over.
pick ban player than
like yeah, I think like similar in terms of tactics and mid round. I think roster building you could have. It's so. I think there's a lot. It's so opaque and difficult with MSL because there's just so much rumors and everyone. I mean, I think the Reddit or Twitter, like not people who are like Twitter personalities, but just like fucking people on Twitter who like to say angry shit to you. Like I think they're on the like fuck MSL side, but I think it's a lot more complicated. And I can be an apologist for MSL. I think you can make a case that he's not that bad, but I think. Overall, Daps has a better record in terms of pick ban and roster building.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to give the edge to Daps, even though I think that, MSL might have higher peaks and his situation might be a lot more nuanced than fucking morons on Twitter or Reddit would want to give him credit for.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think that, so 1, 2, 3, so year 6 is Daps, 7 is MSL.
Mm-hmm.
And then at this point, don't we run out of in-game leaders currently? Like, is there anybody else?
I mean, there's like
I could put in this category.
You could talk about Steel or Stanislaw.
All right,
as guys sort of like innate doing like decent stuff.
All right, I guess we'll talk about Steel first because I think Steel's actually the better of those two and might be one of the better in-game leaders. But like because of his entire situation, like I don't think he's ever gonna get above this particular level, right? Like he was. Always
he almost got kicked from his own team, just like that.
Yeah. He got minus Steel plus Steel. Because, it was like the exact same situation. Like, we don't need you, Steel. 1 week later, Steel come back. We literally don't know anything about CS. Like,
I think the whole... I mean, I haven't watched that much Ghost, and I haven't watched them recently, but when I have watched them, I think they're a pretty different... Like, they're very... Like, it's not like God B, where it's like a... Wow, this guy's like doing really great stuff and like he's figuring out these little nuances that make him like very unique and different. I think it's like with Steel, it's like this team just plays 100%, and maybe he's just like forged by the fires of online NACS, but like it's very different. I almost want to like watching it be like, this just looks like shit. This looks like Ty Lue or something. This is just very different and like fucking stupid. But like there's like a weird. I mean, even though it's sort of an aggressive style, it is like, oh, they're taking like apartments control on Inferno a very like much more frequently than or Halls control, whatever you want to call it, much more frequently and differently than everyone else does, or like they're more willing to try stuff and actually works sometimes. And I think when you saw them first show up to tournaments, on like international tournaments, it did take teams by surprise.
Like they're surprisingly good against Na'Vi.
Yeah, like I think that. I have a tendency to just think like, this is just a scrimmy and bad because I haven't seen it before. It's not like an idyllic, like Astralis, whatever version of Counter-Strike, like a beautiful version, but it is more or less like I think there is like a tendency to be like, well, Vegas Squadron is just a bunch of fucking idiots. Like they're so dumb. Like fuck them, they're a bad team.
Push, yeah.
Yeah, but like on some level, it's genius what Vegas Squadron does. Like I think it's like, yeah, okay, this guy's just running up ramp on Mirage and trying to peek the guy ticket booth and just gets fucking nailed in like in a very critical round to end their run at the major, right?
But that's like the exact risk you need if you're Vegas Squadron.
Yeah, exactly. That's like if you're Vegas Squadron, that's exactly what you should be doing. Like so I think there's like a weird.
Like I actually think that's why I actually rate Steel highly because I'm looking at his pieces like. Listen, it doesn't. I don't give a like. I'd actually rate him worse if he was trying to play Astralis style with his team. because like that doesn't make sense. You don't have those
I
pieces.
mean, if you can get a really, I mean, if you play like Astralis, if you can be that good in the mid round, if you can have that good tactics, I think it would be really solid for your team. But I mean, if you have guys like, I don't know, I don't know anything about Sub Rosa other
All
than
right, let's go with Kusa. Kusa literally can't figure out if he's a rifle or op or like 3 years into his career. There's no way he could do Astralis stuff. I'm saying
yeah,
right
like,
now.
but like, I mean, like, if you can mold guys into that, that's a way better like style. If you can train guys up and get them all on the same page, that's a way better like goal than just be like, we're gonna try different things on the CT side, or we're gonna try plays that you haven't seen before and surprise you. I think it's better to just have like a very fundamentally strong, very like cognitively depth cognitively of how you're playing the game, like thoughtful style. I think that's better. But if you can't get that out of the guys, the next best thing is play surprise and gimmicks, and I think it works well for what they have. And I think you want to say they're overachieving, and props to Steele if that's what he can. The only thing he can do with them.
Yeah, I will point this caveat. I don't think either of us watch enough Ghosts to actually know if there's like a straight up strategy or plan or consistency.
I think it is like thought. I think it is like gimmicks and like
I don't
unique little plays and stuff. I don't think it is.
Me to know. Like the last time I saw them was at by Power Masters, and there was like a bunch of like caveats around that fucking tournament, right? Like it's hard for me to say without like actual data and like best of threes and in good tournament. So
no, I haven't watched enough of them. Like I didn't go through a bunch of like Ghost demos before the start of the podcast. Mm-hmm. I woke up this morning and thought maybe I should do that, but I was lazy. But no, props to Steele though. I think that like I think that Steele and Stanislaw both should get credit as in-game leaders, even though they haven't been super successful internationally. Because I mean, Cole did make top 8 at the major and did win some games at this previous major. Top 8
they
at
almost
the
eliminated phase. They did beat Energy, so
yeah, like props to Cole for like at least getting that done and like having some cohesiveness to them. Like I think that like Stanislaw is actually like pretty. You have to give some like level of props to him for, even though he's sort of on a shit team, like he has done something.
Like I feel like Stanislaw has like a bunch. He has Daps' old problems, which is like he can't get his team to like work together. So like that's why you see a bunch of people keep getting kicked from Cole, like the coach, the younger players, stuff like that. Like I don't think I give props to Stanislaw in a certain sense, and like he's pretty good with veterans. He's pretty good with good players, as far as we've seen. But they have to be players that he can work with. Like he obviously couldn't work with Config and Cajun, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that his biggest problem is his leadership skills. Like I think that's like the thing that, I mean, I think Sam said this on the last episode of my show. It's just like, yeah, I would never put him in charge of a team. I would never spend, like, if I was a GM, I would never, build a roster around him, because look what he did with Optic. Optic twice, right? The Danish one and the NA one, where he left them, or whatever. Yeah. Like, and the second one, he like failed to get them on the same page, like in terms of personalities, and he just sort of failed there. And he like had all those problems on Liquid, and he never really turned it on. They were a lot better after he left. Or I mean, even when he was playing shit individually in like an off role with Nitro and Gimli, they actually started to do better. It had like what was that tournament? It was at the island, Mykonos. Yeah, it was when they first showed up.
There's
that's
something
like a
to
big
him,
problem.
Like he does have problems.
Like whatever reason, like I want to judge this guy for a personality that I've never interacted with. I've never talked to the guy, but for whatever reason, he seems to have these problems, and he makes these weird exits, or like has these weird moments where he doesn't get along with teams and or his teammates. And yeah, I think that it's not a good sign. Would you really want to put him on? Like, if you want to make a desperation move on energy, if this roster stalls, like, yeah, I think Stanislaw is probably the best person to try to replace Daps with, if you have to replace Daps. But do you really want to risk that? Is that team going to implode after 6 months? or is it going to be like amazing, like Optic was
But
for
then he'll leave
a
after
very brief time and then
seconds.
explode? You know, like
Yeah.
how is that going to work out? And no, I mean, I think Stanislaw, like during Optic and even during Liquid, I think he does understand like how to call. Like I think he does have a good sense of like how to like create timings and how to confuse opponents and how to take advantage and like how to what strategies to call.
Like the way I think of Stanislaw in particular is like, all right, I'll put it this way. Like I think FNS is like way more structured and has like a consistent plan and everything I've ever seen him do. Right. When I watch Stanislaw, sure. I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like he's going off of more instinct, or like counterplays or stuff like that. Like that or some like it's a very different style, and one isn't necessarily better than the other, but it really depends on like. But like because of all his like personality issues, like you have to give him like a very specific team for him to do well with. Whereas like you give Steel like a bunch of these guys, like he's doing great. Like that's why I put him below Steel right now. Like.
I mean, actually, I remember when we did that episode Points together like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I watched this interview with Launders and Stanislaw beforehand, and we even talked about this on the show. But like Stanislaw straight up said, "I don't believe in counter stratting because if I counter strat them and they do in the game, then and great. But if they don't, it doesn't work. And it's just binary and stupid." But like. I mean, that's kind of stupid. That's a little too like, it's a false dichotomy. Like, yeah, knowing, like having research on your opponent, like helps. Like, I think that like, yeah, FNS, like, especially with like, I'm a Pet and the CLG days, like understanding how to counter strat and setting traps for teams like Gambit at, what was that?
I assume it was
Star Ladder. Yeah. Star Ladder Season 2 final. Where they knocked him out of the group stage. That might have been 3. Yeah, this is the last round of the Swiss, if I remember correctly. On Cobblestone, which is like their undefeated map at the time. Yeah, like I don't think Stanislaw is a traditional in-game leader in that sense. I think it is more about feeling the game and like more like my mental connection with someone like Zeus, who just sort of in the game has like a pretty intuitive, like you were saying, sense of like, oh, I should call this now, or like this is a good time. Mm-hmm. It's not like someone who's like preparation based.
Yeah, like basically like I don't know if you ever read it, but there was an interesting interview from Rambo after he was kicked from Complexity, where he basically said like the entire like problem with him and Stanislaw was their ideas on leadership were conflicting. Where Stanislav wanted to keep playing the old Optic style, where it's like, oh, everybody has a lot of like freedom, individual choice. We play our own game, and then we make the strategy like that, right? Like more free flow kind of play style. And then Rambo's like, yeah, I get that. That's a great style. But the problem with that is we have a bunch of young players who don't actually have the knowledge or ability to do that. That's why you have to put in the structure for them to learn. And then that's where they kind of clashed. And then you kind of see what happens afterwards. Like he gets kicked. All the young players or inexperienced players kind of get moved out. They bring in nothing. They bring in Rique and whatever. Like it feels to me like his style is just limited. That's all.
Yeah, like I think, like you're saying, yes, have the right team.
Yeah. All right, so I think that covers most of the active in-game leaders. So you want to talk about the old in-game leaders, or do you want to talk about like the in-game leaders like we don't really have a good feel for, like Chris J?
I want to talk about KDN.
All right, let's talk about those then. Talk about.
Do you have any thoughts on KDN? Because I could sort of dragged him on my podcast. I think that.
All right,
I have some issues with him.
All right, so here's a funny. I actually don't know what North was thinking, but in my mind, this is kind of how it went down. Remember that Rogue versus Stralis game at the Face It Major in London? It was like one of the group stages, right?
I didn't watch that one.
Good, that doesn't matter. What does matter is like what was this entire setup like? Basically, North was out at that point. I think North was already eliminated, right? And then because they had disappointed again in one of the earlier group stages.
And like the pre-major stage of the major, that's technically still the major.
Yeah, and so this was like a best.
They lost to Vega and a best of 3.
Yeah, and then this was like a best of 1 between Rogue and Astralis, and Rogue actually did pretty good in this one. And then all I remember from this match was like Katie, Astralis basically did a typical like Astralis setup where like we take banana control, leave device on top of broken wall, and then 4 on A.
Yeah.
And then Cadian did like a super anti-hard strat, where it's like, okay, so what I'm gonna do is, because they took banana control, I'm gonna assume they did this setup. So I'm gonna throw a flashbang across, then all of us are gonna rush B. Right? And then it worked because like device got flashed, they killed device, and then they immediately took B. Right? And then I remember thinking in my head like, oh my god, if somebody watches this, they might act, if they literally just look at that single moment, they might think Cadian was like the next great in-game leader or whatever, right? Because like that's like a super hard anti-strat. And then like a moment after that, like Sam went on Twitter, was like, you know what would be a great move?
Sam. That's hilarious.
No, like I remember that because like he said it like moments like, you know what would be a great move? Cadian for MSL. And I'm like, oh god, this is gonna be terrible. One week or 1 month later, it's like, we have removed MSL for Cadian. It's like, oh my fucking god. And then
no, I mean, I think that's the thing though. Like, I think that Astralis is like B setup where they like push the Nyx really far forward, and then like Willow take low to A. I think teams can punish that. Like, Astralis punished that versus Gambit. Gambit were doing a lot of that at Krakow, where they leave Hobbit B at like far up banana, and then rotate. I forget who was their other B player. Can't remember at the moment.
It doesn't really matter.
It was a Dren. It was a Dren.
Yeah.
But like Astralis would like flat like do a quick like whiplash around back to B at the very end of the round, catch the one guy trying to get back into the site, kept Hobbit. And I think people could do that more versus Astralis, because if you do watch them, they will like to cheat Glaive back to A and do a 4 setup if they could. Yeah, either device it like the half wall.
Device or be Zipnix.
Zipnix like really
it's
far
rarely
forward.
Glaive left, but sometimes it's Glaive.
Yeah, but like I think people can't take advantage of that. And yeah, to your comment, like I think that like it's not that impressive. Like to that Cadian caught them there. I think that Cadian, like it's just like this stupid fucking logic that I think everyone in the scene has in the like sort of the international team era, where they see like a in-game leader who does decently. It seems that he has like some knowledge. If he's like a Stanislaw, a Cadian, a Lekro, who's like good individually or like solid, or like, you know, like a C or a B for an in-game leader. But like just seems to have like a pretty basic, or like will make a good call once in a while understanding of the game. And then they think like, oh, we just like get this guy on our team and it'll be sick. But like guys like Cadian, guys like Tarek, guys like Lekro, who transition over and are okay at in-game leading, like I don't think they're anywhere on the same level as like Adapts and MSL, who have been doing it for years, who in all metas, after you know the whole scene hates them, they think they're shit, they're bad individually, they try different setups, they'll make it work even with the subpar players, and yeah, like find wins. I don't know if Cadian, like, yeah, maybe he had some success on Rogue and he made like some good calls. I think he does try stuff on North, but like he literally, it doesn't seem like he's able to get them to commit. Like just on the T side, like they just seem so disjointed. Yeah. Like there's a good video by, I can't remember now if it was by Elma Putty or it was actually, he changed his name, Alan Hender.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think it's
what was his name before?
Lynx, I think.
Lynx, yeah,
like
with
that.
like X's and Y's. Yeah. That's why I had him on my podcast for one episode, because he did a really good video on that. I think that, yeah, like I think that anyone like the Sam, like I value Sam's like input, and I think like I have him on my podcast for a reason. He has good opinions, but I think like people will undervalue like the tenure of these guys. Like I think Sam has a tendency to like value short-term results. Like if you watch his like 3 demos from a guy from a recent tournament doing really smart stuff, you're like, oh, actually, I think this guy's great.
Yeah, that's
why
I rate him so highly.
Yeah, I think that maybe because I'm lazy and I don't watch like 5 demos right in like one night. I just like go back off of historical knowledge. I like will have a longer view of of a player, and I won't like make all these judgments based off their last tournament.
Yeah.
So I just guys like Katie and I don't value very highly.
Like, here's the there are a lot of different ways to go with this. First, I'll address the thing about like overvaluing the or undervaluing the in-game leader and overvaluing like these supposedly skilled in-game leaders. Is I think like I think they've all been like gaslighted somewhat with the idea like roles don't exist kind of thing.
It's the most ridiculous shit. Like I don't get that.
Like, or fine, like I don't really care if like rules don't exist, but certainly play styles have to exist. Like I don't think anybody will deny me that definition. Like everybody has a different play style, right? But like if you look at like whenever I remember watching that exact same video you're talking about, like North were basically playing like a bunch of cowards. You know who wouldn't have played like a coward in that moment? MSL. Like he doesn't give a fuck about guys. Like that's actually
well. That's the thing. Like being that kind of in-game leader, being like a Zeus in-game leader, they're back a lot. That creates instant synergy. Like whether it's like it's bad at the front of the pack or not, it's just like a stopgap, or it's like a instant little helper, right? The guy who goes is also the guy saying go, rather than the in-game leader saying go, and then the entry being like, actually, I want to wait a second. And like, and fair enough, like he's the entry guy, he has the expertise there, but maybe he, maybe there's like a disconnect between the guy who calls go and the guy who goes, right?
Yeah, like I remember there was like a really cool VOD review. I forget what exactly it was, what game it was, but it was by Sean Gayers, where basically he's like, yeah, you see this move, this like I don't remember which in-game leader it was either. It might have been Kerrigan or it might have been Zeus, or it might have been somebody else. But basically, what he does is like he points. It was like a terrible like individual move by one of them. It's like this looks like a terrible move on paper, and it might even be like a terrible move, but that's an in-game leader move where you have to make the first terrible move, where you have to make like a jump, and then that like spurs the rest of the team to actually do shit, to create space. Like that's kind of how he kind of put it. And Cadian isn't that in-game leader, but MSL certainly is. So, like, even in your mind, you're thinking to yourself, well, Cadian has more frags. Like, but those frags don't really mean anything because you're not adding the impact you needed in that team for the space created, right? So, I
think the whole, it's like, I think people just like, even looking at, like, I think that people don't make this like connection between like, even if a person does well in a round, it's what it's like how players interact with the other players in the roster. Like even if like Stewie 2K looks good on Liquid, if he's taking, I think I said this in the last podcast, Twist's roles, and Twist could have done better.
Yes,
like that. Yeah. Even if like, okay, if MSL would have gone in a situation, horribly missed his spray, died, then Convict comes in, gets a kill. That's still okay round, right?
Yep.
Like people want to say, okay, every round MSL tries to entry, that's a 5, and if they had a better entry guy in there, that wouldn't happen. But maybe that entry guy, when you put him in there, maybe he's better at getting entries. Like maybe he has like better like first bullet accuracy or whatever, or just like a better spray. I think that's really what MSL's like problem is individually. Well, how many times is that guy gonna fuck up when MSL says go? Like, how many times is that guy gotta not take the right pathing or not move when MSL wants him to move? How many times is MSL doing it himself? How many times is him doing it like in the right way, set up with entry flash, or whether it be configure Kirby, when he's like does a really effective job, helps his second entry way more than any other guy can. And I think that's what people don't understand. Like, it looks really bad. MSL looks bad. Like he makes really bad mistakes, but like sometimes I wonder how if even like sometimes when it looks really bad, he like goes forward, no one follows. That's not his fault. That's his team's fault. And I think that people just don't understand that about even guys like Daps too. Daps and Zeus and MSL are the guys who I think who will be like more forward in terms of the in-game leaders we're talking about. I just
like that's I
get really frustrated.
Players. Like he'll always do it no matter what.
Yeah, I think Daps is really selfless. I think even though I like criticize him individually, I think when he like will lead as like a rifler to an execute, he's like very forward and sacrificial. and doesn't really care if he dies. Like and even if he's not even a good like entry player, he'll do it and play that role, and it sort of opens up guys like
Breezy,
Ethan, right?
Whichever happens to go with him at that time.
Like if it's like a pinch run to a site, Breezy can lead one pack and Daps will lead the other, and you can jump off of balcony on Mirage, and that guy's gonna die. There's so many angles, but yeah, if it opens the way for Breezy to come in at the same time and try to pick off one of the guy who kills Daps, like who cares?
Yeah, like the other angle I'll point at is like basically Cadian's never done as much as MSL because we have all the data now, right?
Yeah.
So basically, if you want to look at the Rogue period, well, actually, I think MSL's done better with his Rogue than Cadian did with his. Right? Like I don't think that's crazy to say.
Yeah.
So we look at North. Well, MSL won with DreamHack Stockholm. Got a bunch of playoffs. Actually kept showing up in international tournaments. Did decently enough.
Actually made it to the major.
Like Cadian's done none of that. Like that's like.
I mean, they did beat Navi offline in some weird small tournament that I did not.
Yeah, GG bet. Like I don't really care about that one. Like I guess if you want, you can throw that in, but like the results are still a landslide in MSL's favor anyway. Right.
Yep.
And
just like the eye test, I thought they were doing really interesting things with that Nico lineup, and even with the Mertz lineup. I think they're doing interesting stuff. I think they were like thoughtful in how they approach rounds, how they approach the mid round, trying to like play like overpass the way like Kirby and MSL like just moved around the map was like thoughtful. The way that he tried to set himself up with the op on Inferno, like peeking into alt mid. It's like he just had like thoughtful, like smart little plays, and
none of that exists.
Yeah, like I see Cadian does try stuff. Like he will set himself up with the op to try little plays, but it's not like as a complete package where he like knows how to set himself up individually, how he knows how to set his team up on the actual executes, or like when they need to go at the end of the rounds, and he doesn't have, I think, the same like level of mid-round calling where he can play like that rotation style, like the classic Estrella style, where he will just rotate at the right point in the round and like swing on the team and get that empty bomb site or like one before with 20 seconds left. Like I think MSL is just so much better in other areas. The one thing he just isn't is a fragger. He looks bad, like straight horrible sometimes individually, where Cadian never looks like bad and he doesn't look
Cadian
dumb.
never looks bad, but like here's the other thing, like because people don't think roles exist, they think in their mind, well, that differential must mean something impactful. Like it actually doesn't. Like the different, like we're talking about like differential between MSL and Glaive. Yeah, I'm with you. That's a fucking massive difference. But that also like ignores the fact that Glaive plays completely different roles, right? Like even if you consider the fact like they're both opping, like Cadian isn't doing that much more than MSL relative to all the other stuff that's happening in the rounds. So. Like that's always something that kind of like triggers me. Is like, well, if everything else stays the same, well, nothing else will stay the same. Like you guys don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, he's changing one. Like that's what like Max actually went pretty hard on the casters on my last episode of my podcast. He was saying like, someone said, I don't remember exactly. I don't want to name names or whatever, but like it was on the broadcast. Someone was like, Liquid, second best team. Like a lot of people on the broadcast of the major were calling Liquid the second best team in the world. And at one point, someone even said second best team in the world, or some would even say the best team in the world. I'm like, yeah, that was the previous Liquid. Like once you change one person, it changes completely.
Yeah.
Like I think 100%. Like you have to think of it as a new roster, 100%. Even if they beat Astralis in their first tournament they played, that doesn't make them the best team in the world, and it doesn't even make them the second best team in the world. But for sure, like I think they showed promise at that first tournament, but look how they played at the major. Like that is, I think once one player changes, it changes the whole team, and that's just, that's why judging in-game leaders is so hard, right?
Yeah, like I'm less critical than Max just because they got to sell something, right?
Yeah, and that's why I said like that's their job is to hype the game.
Yeah, like and then like obviously in their mind they're thinking, yeah, some would say that, like the Liquid players. But I wouldn't. But the some would say that. Like that's kind of like they just leave out that last part, like the Liquid players, like. But I get where he's coming from. Obviously, that's kind of why you actually do need a villain on the desk, like as a side tangent, like a guy who will give you the straight up facts, like nah, fuck that bullshit. They are not the second best or whatever. But obviously, Thorn wasn't there.
Yeah,
and I don't actually think there's another person that fills that role in CS:GO. So,
yeah, I mean it's. You and me could be on a death segment sometime soon. No, but yeah, no, it's just I think to the point that with in-game leaders with guys like Cadian and stuff. I mean, if you want to say like, oh, you know what, the way to fix like optic, I think just to preempt it, go back to like Stanislaw trading in for DAPS on NRG. I think that's not the worst move in the world, but it's not. I think that they would be a worse team simply because I think Stanislaw and DAPS do different things. Actually, with Tarek, I think that opens up a lot of possibilities on this T side. I think that like because Tarek's like a pretty firm, pure entry player, and I think
it hurts their CT side though.
Yes, definitely. But Fugly wasn't the most like pure CT like anchor or like bitch spot player in the world. Like he, like on Overpass, he actually played like the forward guy, like the Rain Fur role of the bathrooms player.
Yeah, he's like he was mixed more than.
Yeah, he wasn't like a
he wasn't a purebred support player. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, but I still think like Daps' calling and what he does for that team is like pretty useful. And even if you want to give props to Stanislaw, like I think that even if he's significantly worse, Daps is as an individual, I think just like little changes and having it and like making that big gap, making that big shift to Stanislaw is like a risk I wouldn't take. Like as long as energy works like okay, switching it Stanislaw isn't a sure thing at all, and I wouldn't be a favor of them.
That's a fucking massive gamble. Like I know where you're coming from.
Any change is a big gamble.
Like if you literally have no choice, then yeah, I might do it. But obviously, like I personally think Daps is a far better in-game leader than Stanislaw. Even if you calculate the fact that Stanislaw is like ridiculous individually, like for an in-game leader, right? But yeah, like I don't know if you ever saw it, but did you see the counterpoints Thorn and Moses did with Valde, where he talks about
I didn't
MSL?
Watch that.
Well, you don't need to watch it that much. I'll just give you the highlight. Basically, like he was kind of reflecting on his time with MSL and Katie. And he's like, yeah, I didn't realize it at the time, but MSL definitely had a system because every time, it didn't matter what round it was, what series it was, what game it was, whether we were winning or losing, he always had another idea about what we should do next. Whereas like apparently, and then obviously the implied thing is like without it
doesn't. I mean, you can see that when watching North games or more recent North games. They sort of run. They'll sort of go back and forth and seem like sort of happy feet, going, not knowing what to do on a T side round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's like one of the smarter CS:GO players out there, and he in that system didn't realize he was in a system, right? Like for whatever reason, like CS:GO in-game leaders are even more intangible than like other leaders in other different games. It's kind of weird, and I guess it's also partly because of the fucking game. Like in this game, it doesn't matter if you make the right call or wrong call. Sometimes, like you can make the wrong call, but you can still win the round, and then that kind of erases everybody's like mental like memories. Like, well, we made the right call because we won. Well, the round.
There's like that weird dynamic where in League of Legends or something, it's like, if they make a call like, no, we can base race, and and they actually can, like, it's like, okay, that's the right call. But with like Counter-Strike, there's this weird almost paper scissors rock thing where doing the wrong thing can sometimes surprise your opponent, and like because you're in this stupid ass spot. Like there was a funny clip with Zipnik's clutching versus Ents on train.
Yeah,
like his thought process as told by Device was like, I'll just stand the stupidest fucking spot, and because it's such a stupid spot and they think that I'm such a smart guy, a smart clutcher, they'll never check it, and I'll just win the round off of them overestimating me. And it's just like, that's the most absurd logic. Like,
but it worked.
I'll just do something. Yeah. Like, I'll just do something objectively stupid because they think I'm smart, and because like it. in other games, I don't think you can do that. You can gain the same advantages.
Like
Like
you
there's
can do
not
that in
the
1v1 games, but that's obviously a completely different dynamic. Right.
hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you for a second.
No, I was just saying like you can definitely do that in 1v1 games because like Street Fighter is kind of like rock paper scissors, and in like StarCraft you can like mix up the build orders to like do really
Like
stupid shit.
rush early or whatever to like when they don't expect them.
Yeah, like basically like, oh, I'll six pool because they're gonna think I'm doing macro build, so they'll slightly cut units to get more money in, and then you attack and you instant win, something like that. But like in team games, like yeah, there's definitely like a higher like gamble in like an individual round of CS. Though funnily enough, because of the way CS works, like because there's basically like upwards of 30 rounds in a game. I think in terms of overall consistency, like CS is more likely to give you the better winner, the guy who's more like
because of the resets where like one mistake in an early game, like a fucked up level 1 League of Legends, can change the whole game. Yeah. Right.
So that's kind of where I fall on it. Like I agree with you though in general, like because people only remember those moments or are more likely to remember those moments, like it gives like this false perception of the usefulness of like the in-game leader.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess you may as well keep trashing on the bunch of in-game leaders I don't think are great.
Who do you dislike? Who's your mental bitch? The guy you think is dumb?
I don't think he's dumb. I just don't think he realizes he's making a terrible mistake. NBK. I think NBK like
I don't get Vitality at all. Yeah. It's like they just seem like they have way better skill than someone like Vega, but they're almost indistinguishable.
Yeah, like basically, I'll give you my take on them. Like I think NBK made the right move in cutting Happy first. I'll go with that because I don't think Happy was doing much anymore. But after he cut Happy, he thought in his head, Happy was right. Like he cut Happy, but he thinks Happy was right, and then he starts playing tactically more like Happy, like. And I think that's like a terrible mistake because basically like if I had like, all right, if there's any in-game leader in the world who could identify the instant win conditions of any 5 random players, it's probably Kerrigan, right?
Sure.
And then if there's any in-game leader in the world who I don't think can do it, I think it might be NBK. Like, because I think the strengths of his team are really, really fucking obvious, right? Like, Zyru is obviously your best player, right? Apex is pretty good at entering, and then there's you. Like, that's kind of how like your win conditions go. And instead of playing towards what I think is the optimal style for his team, which is you play either the old Navi style around Guardian or you play the existence style around Kenny S. Right? But in his actual team, Zywu is just used as a regular opper. Like it's not built around him. He is the superstar. He is like a star player putting out superstar numbers. Whereas like if I looked at Kenny S with existence, I'd say he was the superstar player putting out superstar numbers. Like that's kind of how I would frame it. Like he isn't truly emphasizing the fact that Zywu is like the next guy.
Yeah. How do you view their T side? Because I've seen some Vitality games. So people want to talk about the Zywu or whatever. How would you characterize it?
Basically they spread out, take individual duels, and then they usually choose a guy to take the first one. Usually Apex. I think Apex gets the highest priority, and then after he dies, because the AUG exists, MBK will immediately swing out and try to make second contact. But because he always does this move, like the guy with the next AUG just kills him too.
Yeah,
that's kind of how
I think like I watched some games of them. I think at the minor, because I thought they were pretty interesting. Like trying to find anything interesting at the minor. You obviously go to the European minor and go to Vitality. Like I'm watching them, it's just like they'll like it's either like like what you're saying, they'll like spread out, take individual duels, or it's just like the classic Vega thing where it's like low utility contact plays.
Yeah, like 5-man rushes, bunch of like I said, like they think they're happy even though they kicked Happy. Like I really dislike that. It's like like I don't know why they didn't just have Happy lead if they're just gonna play this style.
Like I kind of get it. It's like, okay, you have Apex who's like likes to do that. You have Zaiwu who likes to take duels. Seems completely willing to like play rifle too and try to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Be a part of the mix. But yeah, it seems like, I don't know, maybe Zaiwu's so young they don't trust him to like find op picks and like try to play around him that way and like just play like heavy utility, trying to move the op throughout the map, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe yeah, like they're playing like a happy style and like trying to just like rushes, individual duels, like low utility attacks, and then use the utility post plane or just like force buy and not even have utility.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I don't know what I'd do with that team. I think that,
like I
don't
actually know what I would have done, but they already missed their chance.
What would you have done?
I would have got Kerrigan.
Yeah, I mean that's like the band-aid to every team.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, I think with that team, like if they played like a style where it was like, I don't know, maybe not so desperate for just contact for like duels, or like, you know, just like, yeah, you can spread out, but like be more patient and like see if anyone tries to gain information and walks into Zaiwu's op, or if you don't trust him to like try to take actual picks, if he's like not a cerebral player, and then just try to execute late round. You have a great entry player in Apex.
Yeah, like I don't like. I'll put it this way: like, even though I picked like the Navi Guardian or Kineas Existence, they could also play like Fallen like Kaboom, right? Like basically Fallen was doing that same shit like with Luminosity, I guess. Like,
yeah,
where except the difference is I think Zaiwu is probably a better opper, because that old Fallen was running off of a bunch of stuff that he was basically like ahead of the metagame at that point. Whereas like I don't think Zaiwu is. I just think he's a better opper than most of these guys. So I think that's what they should have done.
Yeah, I just don't. Zaiwu is just like he just have so much raw skill. It's just, I guess they just are tricked into thinking we have a lot of like bursty individual skill. Let's just run at people, which I don't know. I like makes sense almost to me, but it's just not working, and it's just like I don't think especially in the odd meta, like you're saying. Like, this is a fucking terrible time to be Vega.
Yeah, it's a terrible time to be Vega. It's a terrible time to be Happy. Terrible time to be NBK. Terrible time to be Shox. Like I think Shox is pretty limited too. Like I don't really understand where their hope is coming from for that team. Like
I think you have to take an approach to CT or T rather, where it's like more based around op picks and executes rather than that's just like the odd meta in my opinion.
Yeah, like I think like, if you want to do like the pick style, like you have to have like a legitimately all-time great player to do it. Like with a rifle.
Like I'm thinking of Fallen and Cold Zero on Train in like 2017 with double up setup. Cold Zero takes B, Fallen takes A. They both like, maybe Cold Zero just like likes to hold and punish people trying to gain information, and Fallen will actually try to find picks, but like you can play that versus AUG, that's fine. Or yeah, it's like you find if you have a great entry player. I mean, if you have great ops, I would do that. If you have great entry players, good riflers, I would try like just heavy executes. Even if it's like a very simple like ENTS sort of thing that they were trying on Train, where it's just like, all right, 15 seconds around, we're gonna execute outside on Train.
Yeah, or like depending on the map, you can force trades early on and then play the mid round, but. Like they don't really do any of that, so like they just keep running the same style. They're running it, and then they run into a wall, and they don't have an idea. Like, yeah, they just don't have an identity. They don't have an idea. They don't realize like they don't realize like this team literally does need to build like an altar around Zaiwu at this point. Like, yeah, like
I mean, at least like grind out T rounds and then try to get a good CT side going with like Zaiwu and like the talent they do have. Like at least, like I guess they're thinking like we can just gamble enough on T and like there's odds like just the odds will like get us a decent number of T rounds, and then we'll like bank it on CT. But they're just not that skilled on CT, and just like the AUG meta is just like gambling is just not favorable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Okay, what do you think about the in-game leaders and coaches? Like, basically, that's kind of like the new thing, I guess, where like a bunch of the better in-game leaders coming up now are all like tied to, or not all of them, but a lot of them are tied to like good in-game leaders. So like Nitro and Zeus, LMBT, Chris J, Azur, Kassad. And what do you think of these guys?
I mean, it's sort of like I think like talking about in-game leaders is better suited to podcasting rather than articles, because I feel like articles are so constructed and specific.
Yeah.
You can't sort of be wishy-washy with anything, and if you can, it comes off really annoying. So you have to say this guy is good, this guy is bad. You can't say like, well, let's take into account all the different considerations and actually, was it your opinion on this guy? I'll give you my opinion on this guy, and just sort of leave it as opinion. I think like talking about in-game leaders is better for podcasts. I think talking about coaches is better for like, I don't know,
panels
or like interviews. You interview the coaches because it's just so incredibly. Someone made fun of us on the last episode for saying opaque too much, so I'm trying to avoid it. But
it is fucking opaque. Like
it's like I'm not, as you could tell, I'm not always best about reading all the HLTV like text interviews, because I think on some level like all that shit is pretty just like, I don't really care what Daps thinks of himself. I care about what I think of Daps.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's sort of interesting, but
it's
partial laziness, partial like I want to have my own thoughts.
Every once in a while you'll get like a diamond like, yeah, basically Seiko was literally communicating for all of us. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But yeah, I can't make any heads. The only person I feel pretty confident in is like, I feel pretty confident in Sonic. Or there's a couple of people I feel pretty confident Sonic is like, I have a good idea of what he does. Like maybe helps out with some tactics, but mostly like a motivational guy, someone to like help with the like raw like personality leadership. And like, I feel like
he also like drives the team into learning things. Like I think he was the one who forced them to focus on nades.
Yeah, I think people give him a lot of credit for that. I think like I'm a pet. It's like the like demo review,
the anti-strat guy,
anti-strat like analyst sort of coach. I feel like Zeus.
Zeus is similar to Zonic for me, except less tactical.
It's like not as tactical. It's more about like situations, like mid-round, like trying to teach the team how to play the mid-round properly, how to play situationally. I think you saw that. Maybe you didn't see that with Immortals, and maybe that's why he got kicked. But like just the old school SK, and then all of last year with Liquid, just like knowing how to play mid-rounds really well.
Once
and like
got Taco in there, and
knowing how to. I mean, even before Taco, I feel like they just had a good understanding of like how to move on CT mid-round, how to make little plays, or like how to play out around, which was a lot better than most teams, like way better than like FaZe or even MIBR in 2018. Like better than any, almost, I think that it wasn't like raw tactics was Liquid's thing. I think they're just like fairly fundamentally sound, except they had like big problems. I don't know if it was a mental problem or an approach problem, but they had problems sometimes with like certain opponents or in big situations, just like playing their game and being like, too risk averse.
Yeah, basically like they lacked the it factor, I guess. Like basically they're when you're thinking about like game theory in general, like Liquid is the team that will the past Liquid in 2018. That's the team that will always go for the highest probability move within their wheelhouse, right? And every once in a while, in order to like, if you want to increase your chances of winning, like, here's the way I'd put it: like in a best of 7 in StarCraft 2, you should never play 7 macro games in a row. That makes no sense, because what happens is if you play 7 macro games in a row, eventually you're just training the other guy to get better and better and better against that specific style. So you have to throw in a bunch of like Hail Marys, like all-ins or whatever. And then even if the all-in fails, you've now forced him to respect that the all-in can't happen, right? And
Right.
then that's kind of what Liquid's problem was they never had that instinct of making the correct play or making like the ballsy play that maybe it fails this time, but it gives you a little bit of more space, a little bit more leeway in the upcoming rounds, because now they have to think about that. Like they don't do that.
I mean, I think they were just at some points, yeah, like I was sort of saying, like talking about fundamental soundness, they were like, at some level just like, okay, we'll just play the numbers, or like we'll just wait on it. Like I'm thinking of specifically that famous final versus Mouse Sports in the best of five.
Yeah,
and I think it was the best of five with them having a stand-in too. They had like nothing. Is that right? Am I right?
No, it wasn't with stand-in. It was with Snacks.
Oh, it was with Snacks.
Oh wait, there's another one where they played with a stand-in with nothing though. So
okay, maybe yeah, but they've had Snacks or whatever. But yeah, that final is really famous in everyone's mind, because like I think that 2 game is just like the perfect encapsulation. Just never trying a retake. I think Liquid are a team that will take risks in the mid round and are active in the mid round, but I think they're just like had the wrong mentality. Just like just waiting, and just thinking like sooner or later it'll just fall on our lap, and not having that killer instinct. I talked about this in the second Counterpoints episode I did more recently. It was just me and Thorn and Moses, but I think that Liquid. I don't know. I'm trying to remember how we got into this really specific digression, but yeah. Oh, talking about coaches, right? With Zeus, I wonder if he.
Like, I don't think Zeus could have done anything with that. Like, I don't think a coach can do that.
I mean, if they called timeout and then he wasn't like, okay, this round I want you to
do X,
play aggressive by double doors or something. Like, try to take a risk here at 125 or something. Like, I think he could have done something. I wonder if like
I think the risk they should have done was they should have just like done like a triple save.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, like if you have 8 rounds to play with,
yeah, they kept force spying kind of. But they didn't really do anything with it. That's kind of their problem in that particular series. And like basically, I'll put it this way: like they didn't have like a Chris J dude. Like Chris J, Chris J, like basically
Chris J doesn't care. Like
Chris J
he would have found one round where he goes off, takes the game. Where they didn't have that guy. I wonder if like. I feel like, but anyway, talking about coaches, like I think Zeus is like pretty solid. Like it seems like he does have a good understanding of how to get teams to like a good, fundamentally sound, good understanding, like a good conception of the game of like how to play out rounds. LMBT and Mouse, my opinion on Mouse is that they just like Mouse found out enough different ways to like make plays. Or different little things they could do, like Oscar playing off spawn, or like a certain mid take,
double op setup.
Where they just found enough, just find enough different little strategies, a little, I guess, little tactic. I don't know if you want to call it tactics, but different approaches to rounds that they like had enough in the playbook. That was my approach. I don't know how LMBT fits in there. I have a hard time separating him from Chris J.
Like, I did see enough of Hellraisers before he joined Mouse that I think basically he kind of sets up the basic structure and format of the team. So he's like, okay, these are your general spots you're going to go to each round. And then from there, like, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. Then you combine and then you go do this, right? That's kind of how I've always viewed him. So basically, like, he'll always give you like a floor. And then assuming each of the players does their role well enough, that's when it goes up or down.
Yep.
Kind of.
I mean, like the whole thing with Snacks and the whole. I mean, you had an article the other day that I saw, but I didn't click on. Where you talked about roles are
direction, not a definition or something.
Yeah, could you tell me what do you? I should have read it, but what do you mean by that?
Yeah, basically.
I was just curious about this earlier.
Oh, okay, so basically, it was like the way I view roles is like basically there's no role that can, like, there's very, very few players that can be defined by like a specific role, right? Like 100% defined.
Yep.
right? Like we went earlier with Fugly. It's like, yeah, I call him a support player, but in
He's not.
reality,
He doesn't perfectly fit that mold.
he doesn't fit that mold, right? But that's the general direction he's playing in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas like I call Device full time opper, but in actuality, if you look at his C size, he uses the rifle a shit ton. Like, is it fair to call him an opera at that point? Well, not kind of,
Yeah.
right? So basically, I'm saying like I just said like it's a basic direction you have to think about. It's a basic direction, and like the disconnect a lot of people seem to have that like kind of hate the rule system is like they think in their minds it has to be 100% a definition rather than just like a general direction of how you think a player plays.
It's just like it's a language thing. It's trying to find words to describe something. Like, I don't know, I'm looking at a bowl on my desk over here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just a word that describes an object.
Yeah.
You know, like we talk there's like this dumb joke on the internet, like, is what a bagel a sandwich, you know?
Yeah.
Or when I forget what the joke is.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Is that it?
Yeah, I don't remember what the fucking thing. Or like, is is this an X? Like, is a can of glass?
Mm-hmm.
Like, kind of. Like, is it a cup? Is it a can of cup?
Yeah.
Like, well, we're just like getting to the nitty gritties of like language. Like, if we call someone a support player, it doesn't mean that everything he does it doesn't have to fit this exact mold.
Yeah.
But like, it's just a way of using a word to like describe an object that we see with our eyes, right? And I don't know. I bring up the subject with LMBT and because I feel like the snacks thing is just like pretty damning for that whole lineup. Like, they have to understand on some level. Like,
they did actually do it. Never mind. Like, I'm thinking if this is the Orgonaut, but I do remember like Chris J was kind of in contact with both Snacks and Apex, and like neither of them really fit in Stiko's role. So I don't know what they were thinking.
It's just like, surely they understand what spots on CT Stiko plays. Mm-hmm. On like even that basic level, or who tends to go first when they execute. Like, that has to be like at the very minimum of like discussion of roles that like has to be in their brain, and they surely can't think like, it's just all bullshit. Like, I can play Stiko CT spots and he can play mine, and like, don't they understand? Like, they have to somehow understand. Like, if you look at Taco, if you look at Ziknix, if you look at Stiko, you look at
old MK,
Fugly,
old Crims,
and yeah, if you look at these guys and you look at their CT spots, it's like this bizarre thing where all these guys play like similar spots across all the maps, like ramp on Nuke,
ramp, Nuke.
B on Mirage, B on Inferno can be pretty mixed, like B solo anchor on Train, like all these very similar types of things these people do because the core skill set of those CT roles align.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's about being positional and using utility and patience and waiting. It's not about spraying down three people that are coming at you at once. Well, I mean, kind of on eco rounds. Yeah, it's about communications and waiting for rotations. Yeah. And then coming in when it goes to the other side, knowing how to rotate over, how to play your timings around that, or like knowing
how to help the other guy get into the area, create space.
How to flash that guy in or whatever.
Maybe you have to sacrifice yourself for that guy. Like, there's a bunch of small different things, right?
Right, like coming down ladder on Train to like throw the attention, and then maybe your guy in Ivy can risk peeking, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think how does Mousesports not understand that like Snacks is not going to be a good replacement for Stiko if they're trying to play in the same roles, or even like the concepts don't exist, like that Snacks can go around thinking like support play doesn't exist. I'm just gonna be a star player. I mean, it's just like a support and star is just a perception of how good you are, not a perception of what you do in the game. Like, it just, I don't know. The fact that Mousesports had that problem is just pretty
damning in your eyes. Like,
yeah, it's damning. Yeah, it's just like how I don't get it. Like, I don't get the people who say roles. I just
Like,
I saw Lurpus reply to you after that article came out. It was, yeah, I don't even know if roles straight up exist. I don't know what he said exactly. I don't remember what he said exactly, but I remember looking at it and be like, I just don't agree. I just don't get that the whole roles are fictitious perspective. It's just very strange to me.
like, like, I'll put it this way. Like, I also bring up like the topic of Taco, because that's kind of like a point that Moses likes to talk about. It's like, well, Taco, sometimes he plays a star role because sometimes Cold Zero flashes him in. I'm like, and then I basically said like, no, that's actually a support action if you think about Cold Zero's greatest strengths as a player,
style.
right? Like, do you really want to waste Cold Zero doing an aggressive action early on the CT side? No, like Cold Zero, he's a fucking god in the late game, in the late round. Right?
Late round, yeah.
So you actually have to throw in Taco first if you want to get that information or get that kill.
Of the two players, who's more capable of getting a kill? Or who do you want alive, right?
Yeah.
And who do you think want? I mean, like in that, like, hey, I'm gonna flash and you're gonna peek out. Who are you really risking in that situation? Even though it's like Cold Zero with the flashbang, if like Taco has to peek banana, like B banana, like you're really risking him getting opt from like mid, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not risking Cold Zero, and it's just like this simple oversimplification of like guy who's support player is the guy who throws the flashbangs is like
no, really
the fucking bane of my existence. Like I don't think support player has anything to do with
it has like nothing to do with that. Like it is so dependent on exactly what kind of star player and system you're running, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of like my point, and I actually don't know what Lurpus thinks. Like I did see that reply, but like it didn't necessarily go one way or the other for me. It's like because he's basically saying like there's a lot of freedom in it. So like there's a lot of freedom in it, and they're just like kind of like designations, but they don't mean the same thing across anything. Kind of that's kind of what I took from it. So like I'm not exactly certain what he was thinking about that, but like, hey, maybe he does. Who knows? Like the whole thing with the role system is like it's just like the most useful like system we have. Like I don't think anybody has come up with a better one, right?
I mean, how else would you describe the game? Like it's just because
like the only other way you could do it is if you literally like write that, if you literally note down like, yeah, he plays this plays all these different sides, he plays all these different positions, but like nobody can do that because they don't have the time.
It's a shorthand to describing the game because we're taking a visual experience and trying to put it into words, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like maybe this is getting too fucking abstract, but I'm like trying to. How do you describe the sky without using like words like blue? Blue is just an abstraction. It's not. There's no color to it, right? There's not actually a connection between the word and the color, right? It's just you hear that word and it connects you to your visual experience. And like, yeah, support player is just a word that we use to connect us to like what we all understand support players to be, which is the guy who plays bitch spots, the guy who will make sacrifices for his teammate, the guy who's not like sick at his position, or sick at his with like certain more useful or more lauded abilities like shooting people in the head, like the guy who knows how to just like sacrifice himself, or that he should sacrifice himself or should give up his gun to a better player.
Mm-hmm. Like the term I generally use is like the polarizing player, as in like he's the guy that the team has been built around in a sense. So like Nico and FaZe or Nico and Mouse, probably the best examples. There's like, yeah, he's definitely the star. He's definitely the guy. Like he gets to do whatever the fuck he wants. And
like the nucleus and like the I don't know, like periphery, I guess.
Like they're all okay, but like none of them, they all run into the exact same problem the original like roles thing does. Like it doesn't truly describe everything that's happening within like the team. So like I don't know. Even in like games like Dota 2, like they have Dota 2 has a very specific stratified role systems. Like one is like the safe lane, two is the mid lane, 3 is the off lane, and then 4 and 5 are the supports. And then the numbers are like directly correlated to how much gold you get. But like almost all the teams break those rules all the time because it depends on like the play style play style and the meta and all that shit. So it's like it's not even in a game that's stratified, like it doesn't fit perfectly. So I don't know. It's just they certainly exist, I think, but exactly like the problem, of course, is like how other people are thinking about it, because I don't know how. Like I said, like the biggest misperception is like everybody thinks like 100% definition, and like that makes no sense. So yeah,
Okay.
we completely went off the rails there, right?
Yeah.
All right.
But fuck him, LMBT.
Yeah, me too.
No,
Right.
he's probably a nice guy.
I think he's gonna save fucking Hellraisers, to be honest, because I don't like. I saw Angel without a coach for the last like 4 months. He was really bad.
Yeah, I haven't watched much
Yeah, exactly.
Hellraisers.
Like if Hellraisers was good, he would have watched them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, some people get mad at me in the comments, like, "Oh, why you always like?" Yeah, I watched the games. You fucking morons! It's just like I don't have time to. I'm not gonna watch 10 fucking hours of Hellraisers content because I got a match, so I understand it on a really good level, so I can talk about specificity when their name happens to come up on a podcast. Yeah, I've seen Hellraisers play. I don't watch them. I haven't watched like an incredible the amount I need to watch them to have like a very specific opinion.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think I go. All right, I have a question. What do you think of Nitro or Alexi B as in-game leaders?
Yeah,
Like, is it just like is it just too early because like both of them haven't been in the scene very long? As top
I mean, I
in-game
have
leaders?
general impressions of Ents, but it's based off of like 8 maps. I mean, I've watched probably about 30 maps of Ents or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but the time that I really like tried to figure out Ents probably comes up to about like 7 hours.
Yeah.
You probably need like 100 hours to like, and then across multiple lineups and back historically, like I can't.
There's not enough
Like I'm
time.
just trying to have a good idea of like who each player is and what they do on a team. I don't have a good idea of like how Alexi B uses certain types of player. Like MSL will approach Config and Kirby and Gade, you know, how he approaches each player across a lineage of similar players. Like I only know Ents for who Ents are now. I have to see them use a Sunny versus an Ariel, right, to get a good understanding of Alexi B. I think X's style is encouraging. It was like, oh, this team is fundamentally sound or more fundamentally sound than a lot of these international teams.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good sign for him. I think I had to watch more maps to get a good idea of his tactics. They definitely do use tactics. They have a style that's more based around like executes and they don't fuck up rounds, which is a good sign. So I don't know. I think good early indications from Ents. Do I think that Alexi B is some sick in-game leader? I mean, I don't have a good idea. The pick and ban phase is like recruiting, like how he knows how to use players. It might just be that they're in a good system, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. I mean, there's like guys like Pronax. Like, how much is that just being a good mix of players, or how much is him setting the? I mean, he never really achieved similar success elsewhere after Fnatic, right? I mean, I don't know the whole history of Pronax.
Yeah,
but...
I do. Basically, like it's terrible. It's terrible after Fnatic. It's not worth going into.
Like Godsent, like never really worked.
Like
They beat
Godsent worked.
Astralis once on train at
they had
what
like
E-League?
one tournament. Like that's it. Like Pronax is kind of like a super powered version of Exist because he has better map vetoes, and because he has like a better idea of how to use his players, but he's like individually a lot worse. That's kind of how I look at Pronax. Like his style and system only works if you have like the sickest players that can come sickest players, and they need to be even better now than they ever were because his individual skill, like it keeps taking crashes year upon year. Like I don't even know how bad he is now. I don't even want to think about it. Like his style of leadership is definitely Swedish. Like it doesn't work unless you have like 4 or 6 players on your team. Basically, that's kind of how I think of Pronax. Like he's exactly what Fnatic needed in order to create their era, but like he's similar to like Stanislaw, and like he has to have very specific players for his style to work. Like he cannot, like you cannot give him any players in the world and get something out of it, like Kerrigan.
But what do you think of my impression of Alexi B? Did you have like a similar thoughts on him that you sort of like that? Just basically, ENCE doesn't seem like a team that's like dumb. It doesn't seem like a team that fucks up rounds and then they will like throw a lot of. Yeah. It's not like an Astralis style where it's based around rotations. It's about like just trying to pick a timing, and doing an execute.
Yeah, like generally have a pretty similar idea of ENCE, but like they'll mix it up. Like they have a few different openings. They'll be like, okay, this time we'll have Alu, like on Mirage, for instance, they'll have like Alu play like B halls first to get a pick and then they'll take map control and then they'll do the execute or whatever. And then they have a pretty decent understanding of like the ordering of rounds and how like you're supposed to like line them up one after the other, kind of, for the gun rounds anyway. And in general, what I like about ENCE is that they're not praying. Like when you watch old Hellraisers with Woxic and Issa, I swear to God, it's literally just Angel praying, please let Woxic or Issa just go off this round. Just let Woxic or Issa go off this round. It's kind of like how those guys play. It's kind of like how Vitality plays at Zaibu. And
yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
With ENCE, it doesn't actually matter. Like everybody talks about like Sergey as if he's the next great prodigy. They don't actually play around Sergey.
I actually thought that Ariel looked more impressive in the major play. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion.
No, Ariel was more impressive than Sergey was. Like Ariel and X7 are probably the bigger factors for their playoffs in the major.
Yeah, like I think that's a great sign of their system. If like if people don't even have a consistent like conception of like who's your best player.
Yeah,
like think about Astralis. Like people like think about how different MVPs have been given to like Sipnix, Dupree. I mean, maybe Dupree hasn't won a lot of MVPs.
But I do think Magus, they've
all won. Yeah, it's all sort of like it's based on this. It's like they have a strong system, and who succeeds in that system, depends on the individual form or whatever. But their success isn't based around individual plays. It's based around like their system working. They're like their way of calling rounds working.
Yeah.
Where somewhere in like Navi, yeah, they do have some team play and they do make calls and stuff, but I mean it's do or die on simple or on an electronic, right?
Yeah.
Zeus isn't going to win an MVP award.
No, he isn't. Like that's kind of why I'm rating Alexi B pretty highly in the current in-game leaders. Like obviously I didn't put him in the list because I don't think there's enough historical data to like look at him in across different lineups because he's pretty new. But like if you're just looking at this ENCE team, what I like about it is I can't pick out a single guy they have to play around. Like I've seen Ariel have bad games and they're fine with him having bad games. I've seen X7 have bad games, they're fine with him having bad games. Same with Sergey, same with Alu. Like in general, like ENCE is just a really good system. So
yeah, I know I think it's also, I sort of talked about this in an article I did recently about like national versus international teams. Mm-hmm. Like I think that like there's something to just having a team that like works together.
Yeah.
Like ENCE is a national team, not like superstar players, but that just like it just functions. Like it's not like watching MIBR and just like how are they gonna fuck up this round? Like how are they gonna fuck up this end? Or, like because I don't know, the communication was bad, or they had different ideas of how to approach the round, but they just like they would just fuck up rounds. Mm-hmm. ENCE you never see ENCE blow a round. They might lose it. They might lose a clutch, right?
They might lose a duel, but like
yeah. But it's not like, oh, this guy shouldn't have peaked there, and that kind of fucks this guy over. Now they can crunch onto this guy. Like it wasn't like fuck ups. Like
yeah, like what I like about ENCE is they've like papered. I don't know paper. They've basically like solved a lot of the dysfunctions like international teams generally have. Like FaZe has been running for like 2 years now, it feels like they haven't really papered over any of those problems, right?
Yeah, and to some degree I wonder how much language and culture like is an inhibitor to teams figuring out these problems. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't have the same if you're on the same page, if you don't understand the other guy and how he works or how he solves problems, like how he plays consistently, how can you know how to move off of him and around? Or maybe he's just never perfect, unless I mean maybe that's a little
Like
too theoretical. Like maybe
we have a lot of data though. Like, can we think of a fucking international team that has done that? Like the closest I can really think of is like the FaZe team with
the Kiyoshima and
Kiyoshima, that one,
and Alu.
Yeah, like that's the closest anybody got to it. Really, like they didn't blow rounds. Like the FaZe team after that completely blew rounds, right? The FaZe team before that like wasn't. I think I don't know. There was enough data on that team with AZ in it, but like that was the closest. Like Mouse, they kind of did blow rounds a few times. Like this last version with Big, I think they've blown a few rounds. Like there's something to it, but like it's also might just be because like if I had to guess, I'd say it's just because international teams undervalue in-game leaders and support players in general.
Yeah, that was my article basically.
You know,
so they don't have the right pieces, so they never function properly, and it could be some language or cultural issue.
Mm-hmm. But like that's why it's always hard for me to like come down on that one way or the other. It's like we've never truly outside of that Kiyoshima Alu lineup, which I actually think was
second best team in the world for a good portion, better than that of Straw's team. Got better.
Yeah, I think that like I don't think that was a failure on Kerrigan's part or anybody in that team's part. Like I actually think they either hit their level or overperformed, depending on how you viewed the individual players of that lineup. But outside of that lineup, I don't know if there was any like international team was like, well, they have all the pieces.
Yep.
Right. Like
I mean, Mouse had all the pieces. They were just not.
Like they overperformed too, but like
they never had a true in-game leader.
Yeah, they didn't have an in-game leader, and I think some of their pieces were too young. Like
Rops,
Rops particularly.
Rops is a smart player though. I think that he's not.
No, like Rops is a smart player, but like if you look at other like rising young players, like they all got to play with like really smart in-game leaders, or at least veterans. Mm-hmm. Like can't say the same with him.
Yep.
Right. So it's like it's kind of hard to come down one way or the other. It's also why I rate Kerrigan so highly, because I think leading international lineups is harder than it should be in my mind. Should be harder than leading national lineups
or teams with a good role balance.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a bad balance, trying to get like Olafmeister and Rain and Guardian and together is super tough. We're getting like a bunch of Finnish no names who really can't go anywhere.
Yeah,
young guys to all get on the same system, on the same page is probably easier.
Mm-hmm. I will say, like X7, as far as I know, he was some kind of star player before he joined X. So,
okay.
If that's true, then that means like WallabeeBeatle kind of like formed him into becoming this kind of role player for them. That's pretty good. Because
sure,
but it's also pretty early in his
career. I hear the weird thing about like Ents getting second place to the major. It's like a cool story, but also it's always like a damning fact for the rest of the scene. Like,
yeah, it is.
In no universe should this team be the second best in the world or get second place at the biggest tournament of the year or the biggest tournament of the last 6 months. Oh, man. That's just like how you phase and think like, well, we're doing fine over here. Yeah, just not our tournament. Like, think how much money you spent. Think how much all the stars in your team, and you can't beat this Finnish roster. That's who's their most famous player, Alu. I mean, had a really rough series versus Navi.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like a star of that lineup, even though he's like the.
Mm-hmm. You cut out there, but you said something like he wasn't the star of the lineup.
Yeah, he's not like the most important. He wasn't the reason why they won, even though, like, quote unquote, like the face. The most like internationally renowned.
Mm-hmm. Like basically, like Alu went off. Alu went off when he was supposed to go off, which is against Liquid, because Liquid don't have an opera as good as him. Like it's kind of how I saw it, right? But against like Navi, you got Simple, so it was never going to be a good match anyway. But like they won anyway because
I mean, he was just like fucking missing.
Yeah, he was just missing
shots.
Not gonna lie, it's not like
there's one round where like Simple's literally playing the bomb and like
and he missed the shot. I remember that.
He missed the shot. Yeah,
like he was playing terrible that game. But like in general, like that's kind of why I'm happy. Like Ents and Renegades are going up. I actually want them to keep beating the shit out of these better teams, like most of them, because I feel like a lot of I feel like Navi's gone like 6 months too long.
Yeah, they've been together for a year and a half, like since October 2017.
Yeah, like I think FaZe actually went the wrong way. Like in the Nico Kerrigan war, they should have stuck with Kerrigan and kicked out 2 of the other players. Like basically,
see, this is why I disagree with Max. See, you have the same opinions. You can't go that direction. You can't just put talent off of talent off of talent. You can't just put a bunch of sugar in a bowl and eat it. You have to have a mix of different textures and temperature, or maybe not temperatures, but sometimes temperatures. That could be good. Mm-hmm. Like the cold sour cream on a nice hot burrito.
Mm-hmm. Like
I think stacking a bunch of fucking talent, putting I don't know, like brown sugar on top of an ice cream cone is fucking stupid.
Yeah, like if it was me, like I would have kicked. I would have tried something extreme. Like I would have tried like, okay, I would have tried something like Olaf Meister, Rainier out, but get me Kiyoshima and MBK or something.
It's worth trying.
Like
I just don't think Kerrigan's the right in-game leader for that team. It just sucks that they have that.
He didn't have the right he didn't have the right players. Like I think that's like getting Olaf Meister over Kiyoshima. I think was like an overextension that gave him like a lot of good short-term results. I mean, really fucking good. Like those.
The best peak of all time, right?
Yeah, but like it was gonna come to bite him back in the ass eventually, and it eventually happened because like once Olaf Meister got in there, like there's no way a star player is kicking a star player first. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in the first part of this, but yeah, I think that everyone's dumb. Roster building currently is dumb. You need sick end game leaders, or just at least like thoughtful guys who know how to build a lineup instead of star players
like
having all the control.
Like I'll put it this way: like remember, I don't know if you ever saw it, but basically Thorne put out a video about like what the core of the team actually is, and it's not just like whatever remaining players happen to be from the old lineup. Like, oh look, those 3 players, they form the core of the team. Like Get Right, Forrest, and like Freiberg or whatever, right? Like that's not the actual core of what NIP was, right? Like when I think of like a core lineup, like let's go with like MIBR and SK, right? Like the original the SK before they became MIBR with Stewie TK and Tarek was like Bolts, Taco, Coldzera, Fur, and Fallen. Like what is the actual core of that lineup? I'd probably say it's Fallen, in-game leader, Taco, support player, Coldzera, superstar player. Right, like those 3 kind of define the identity of that team, and then the other 2 are replaceable. Like that's kind of the central problem with a bunch of these international teams is they're unable to identify what the core actually is. Like Mouse is like, yeah, we don't need Sticko. He wasn't important. Oh fuck! Like that's kind of what happened with Mouse, right? And I think that's kind of the big issue with FaZe is they've lost like their core identity with Kerrigan and. They have nowhere else.
The core should be of that team like Kerrigan, Nico,
Olaf. And actually, I don't know.
Guardian, maybe.
Maybe Guardian.
Probably.
Either Guardian or like. Here's the problem with that team is like, Olaf and Rain aren't truly stars. But they aren't truly support players.
Yeah.
Like
I think that Rain and Olaf. I think those are the 2 that are the most. Easily replaceable.
Yeah.
Because I think you could get someone like Sunny for Rain. I think you could get someone like, I don't know, you could try Ariel for Rain. You could try Apex for Rain. You could try different, Crims. You can try different people for Rain. I don't think you can try a different guy for Nico.
Yeah.
Other than Simple.
Yeah. Like
even that's a pretty big shift, right?
Yeah, it's a massive shift. Like they're very different. I'm not very different, but they're certainly different players.
Like if you like Guardian for Simple would be confusing too.
Like I don't think that works either. Like Simple is somebody you have to play around. Like Guardian is Guardian actually is pretty resource free for an opper. Like you can send him somewhere and he'll do what he wants, right?
Mm.
So, he's actually like a pretty rare opper in that sense. Like there aren't that many like oppers that can go solo as often as Guardian does. Like he doesn't need that much help to do his whatever he does. But yeah, okay. I guess last topic, because I did want to get your quick thoughts about this. What do you think of like the old in-game leaders? Sean Gares, Existence, Pronax. I guess Exist.
I mean,
like
we covered Pronax a little bit.
Yeah, we covered Pronax. I think I don't think there's not much more to go with Pronax, to be honest.
Well, I really started following the game like regularly in 2015, and then like fairly seriously in 2016.
So I guess we may as well skip Existence. Like I can tell you a bit about him, but like,
I mean, I know the history. I've seen some. I'll go back and watch some games. It's just like, I don't know. It didn't seem like, it just seemed like very default to me, like just very standard. Not like wow, he's doing crazy shit here on the C and T side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like if I had what I liked about Existence is like the Kenny S lineup, because I think he basically like I said, he basically picked out the exact win condition he needed.
Exist. I was thinking of Exist, not Exist.
Oh,
my bad.
No, Exist isn't special in particular. Like I think the most famous thing about him is his map vetoes, which is probably an indictment on him as a leader more than anything. Like he's like a worse version of Pronax and a far worse version of Kerrigan, basically. So like I can skip him, but like for Existence, I think tactically he was actually very sound for his time period. I think his executes and flash timings and all that shit was pretty good, but like I don't think his leadership quality is actually that great, or maybe it's just something weird about the French culture. It's like they can't get along with each other for whatever reason. So
or maybe there's more public about the disagreements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think? Actually, I don't know. Did you watch a lot of Sean Gares?
I watched some, like, but then like even my understanding back then wasn't that.
Yeah, so you'd have
I was sort of new to the game, but like my impression was like he's I definitely, you have to give like even like on Misfits and stuff, you try stuff like, wasn't there this famous like decoy clip where he like
he threw a decoy execute, forced the nades, and then did the actual execute.
Yeah, like just like, oh, that's thoughtful. Like, oh, like look at where he's putting these Molotovs on cache. Like that's kind of thoughtful. Like that's like it's like God B in a way. Maybe not. Isn't I don't know. It's hard to compare the two.
Like I don't know if he's like the innovator, but
with my knowledge,
but like he understands like what a good idea is, and then he implements it. Like the volley shit. Like that was apparently from Semphis.
Okay. Well, like just like I don't know. There's guys where it's just like you see them doing stuff and you're like, oh, that's a good idea. Like that, the way that MSL threw those grenades like right there from stat, like bounced off that wall to hit that spot. Like, oh, that's smart. Like, why hasn't anyone done that before?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just like what Astralis were doing with the triple nade, like stuff. Like that's just, I mean, I think MSL was doing a little bit of that stuff. Never should.
Like he,
I
remember he did like a triple stack on Cobblestone a long time ago.
Yeah. Like the whole like triple stack like innovation. Like, oh yeah, thought like we should have been thinking about this like a long time ago. Instead of like modeling a spot, you triple nade a spot, just kill that guy if he happens to be there. Use like a risk or whatever.
Yeah,
you based off of prior information. It's like, oh, that's just like a good idea, and I think it's like Sean Gares is just a thoughtful guy who just did a lot of demo review and just came up with like, oh, instead of this smoke here, I should put it here. And you see it in the game, it's like, oh, that's smart. Like that forces this guy to like that's just like a maybe just like Fallen. Like there's a famous example of Fallen like missing a window smoke on purpose.
Yeah,
to try to force a rotation. Like that's just like, oh, that's just like a good idea.
Yeah.
So I mean, some guys like Kerrigan or Zeus, their whole game isn't based around that. That's like it's a different skill set. But you see these guys, I definitely have respect for them.
Yeah, like I'd phrase Sean Garris is like he does he has a shit ton of information in his mind, basically. Like beyond like the stuff you were talking about. Like what I remember is like Steele basically called him like Counter Strat 9 during like the summer run, because basically back then they released all the comms of the teams, right? And,
oh yeah, I watched some of that. Like I think that right now they're gonna push here. Look out for that.
yeah,
And
like they push there, and then they die. It's like basically he was like literally just anti-stratting like their individual reactions. So like I get the feeling he has like a very strong feeling for he has a not feeling but like idea of people's play tendencies in the meta, and he also has a very good idea of what are good ideas and what are bad ideas, and implementing the good ideas and like refining them to a better point. Like I said, like Sempis came up with the molly ideas, like we should use mollies, and then Sean Garris actually took that idea and put it into an execute. MSL comes up with his strategies on Cobblestone. Sean Garris realizes, oh, that's actually the best way to play Cobblestone. Let me just take everything he did.
Yeah.
Right? Like
there's like certain guys like I think FNS and I'm a Pet, like when that combo and CLG, like they had a good sense. I don't know, sometimes if I watch a team a lot, like I watched a lot of the Astralis games on Nuke for an article, and then the next couple times I watched Astralis play a team before like the meta shifted, the actual like before they changed, it's like, oh, I feel like they're gonna do that Zitnix like Fed dive this round, and it'll just happen. Like you just get like a sense for it after a while. They're like, oh, I think they're gonna do like a full execute on upper like early in the round, and I feel like, I mean, people who do the research like that, who watch a lot of games, will like develop that sense, and it seems like Sean Garris, maybe I think Gob B has a sense for it. I think
Kerrigan kind of has a sense for it, but it's more on an individual level. Like,
yeah,
I remember like
some guys currently just like you can tell they like do their W.
Yeah. All right, I think about covers it. Was there any other topics you want to talk about before we finish up?
No, I'm good, dude.
All right, see you guys later.